Yo, what's poppin' YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Zach Lesage here. How's it going? Today we're going to be going over the deck that I played at the North America International Championships, recapping my event run and list. That being said, I just got back from Columbus and I want to get everyone updated on whatever went down. I ended up going 9-4-2. I'm just trying to do the math on that. That's 15 rounds. Yeah. 29 match points, and that ended up getting me top 64. I started off day one at 7-1-1, and I played nothing else except Palkia V-Star. So, Palkia V-Star was a really strong choice heading into this event. The week before, I was testing with some of my Shuffle Squad teammates. We were really heavily on Arceus and Teleon, but the Wednesday, I was like, you want to know what? We should put some more effort into Palkia. I know Palkia has been tearing it up. Maybe it's something that we should just, like, explore again, just to make sure. I figured that, I basically discovered that Palkia is a better form of Arceus and Teleon, or at least that's the way that I looked at it. That's not to say it's a better deck or anything else like that. At the time, I was like, yeah, Palkia V-Star seems so much better. This is the deck that I want to play. Quickly put together a list, put some changes in there, and I'll show you the list that I ended up with. So let's go transition over to that. You are now watching Zach Lesage, the best place to learn about competitive Pokemon TCG. Let's get it! So looking into it, I have a pretty basic Palkia V-Star deck. The goal was to just set up and attack with Subspace Swell much more quicker than my opponents could. And I mean, I think for the most part I did really well. I was able to beat most of the decks. The one deck that was a glaring issue that I found out after the event was Palkia V-Star. So, I mean, I took Tord's list from Milwaukee as a base, and I decided that I wanted to do a couple changes. I mean, I wasn't really feeling the Nessa. I thought Ordinary Rod would be a little bit better. I decided to add in a Leon just in case for Mirror Match. I think that'd be cool because Palkia's Subspace Swell does 60 plus 20 for each of your bench Pokemon. That's doing 260 base, and even if they play something like Tool Scrapper, Tool Jammer, so that I can't Choice Belt them, there's opportunities for me to Leon and Choice Belt my opponent, or just Leon my opponent. It was pretty cool. I did like the Cheryl aspect of the deck, so that if they don't knock me out, I could go Cheryl, heal, go for Star Portal, accelerate my energies back, and keep it going. So, I mean, starting it off, I'm just gonna go roughly off the top of my head. I started off playing against an Ice Rider deck, and Ice Rider was cool. I was playing against an opponent. She didn't really have too much of a great setup. A lot of her turns were just passing. I was a little bit worried about it because we have the 280 HP, and they had Choice Belts, and just ways to get knockouts on Origin Form Palkia. I had a really quick start and was able to just accelerate energies and knock things out very quickly. I mean, that's really where things kind of turned up. Round 2, I believe I found myself playing against a Mew deck. Now, if you played against me and if I get this out of order, I'm sorry. It was 15 long rounds. Mew is a deck that I didn't necessarily know how it would play out. I thought it might have been a more difficult matchup. However, when I was playing against the Mew matchup, I would go ahead and attack into a Mew VMAX. So, I mean, there's a couple strategies that we could use in that matchup. So, we either attack into a Mew VMAX, and then if they're not going for Psychic Leap, that damage is on there. Then I go for Radiant Greninja, using its Moonlight Shuriken, powering this up with Star Portal. And then I can knock out a Meloetta or an Oricorio with a Quick Shooting. As long as they don't have Fusion Strike, but none of them ever had Fusion Strike energy on the Oricorio or really put Oricorio down. And I would knock out the Mew, so I draw 4 prize cards. As long as you draw those 4 prize cards, your opponent really much struggles to knock out a Palkia V-Star. If you get 3 Palkia V-Stars out per game, the damage modifiers that they play down, unless they get 4 Fusion Strike energies off with the Melodious Echo, ends up being really bad for them, so they can't really knock out Palkia at some point. So it opens up a lot of plays, and if that, going for that 4 prize card turn on a Mew VMAX and a single prize card Pokemon, followed up with a Boss's Orders knocking out a Genesect or a Mew or something like that, if that doesn't work out, Roxanne plus Path can absolutely destroy your opponent. I've had games where they've gone first, followed up into knocking out a Palkia turn 2, and I was still able to come back relatively easily. I went undefeated against Mew the entire tournament. Next game up, I was against a Blissey deck. So that was kind of cool. I was like, okay, cool. We got Blissey going on here. Blissey, I was like, we have Starmie. As long as they accelerate energies, they basically lose. So that was cool. We just went forward with that, and I thought that was Energy Spiral really put them to where they weren't accelerating energies, or they were, and against their mill tanks I had access to Inteleon. It's a pretty favorable matchup for Palkia V-Star, and especially with Starmie. I mean, I think it's favorable without Starmie. Starmie is a card that I do want to cut from the deck. A lot of players do not put energies down for Energy Spiral, but it can be worthwhile. Next one up, I was up against 9-card TCG. They were playing a Arceus, Flygon, Beedrill, Lucario deck, so some kind of fighting type deck. I know that they're on YouTube. Check them out. It's one of those things where I was really worried because they mulliganed, and it showed Single Strike Mustard, Double Turbo Energy, and Fighting Energy, Arceus V-Star. There was like a fighting... It was like one of those things where I was like, it's Arc Duraludon, which is typically a little bit tough for Palkia to deal with that large amount of HP. So anyways, it's one of those things where I ended up just getting them into a position where I could knock out their Lucario V-Star with Starmie because I had to accelerate energies to it at some points. And then that left with a Tool Jammer on a Starmie V. They couldn't really get anything going. So it was just a swift 2-0. It's probably an unfavorable matchup for them from what they played. Next round was another Mew matchup. I just deployed Mew strategies and ran through the matchup. Again, Mew is probably the most favorable, highest tier deck matchup for this deck. So if you run into Mew with Palkia, it's pretty easy, especially if you're able to go with that 4 prize card turn, or you could just knock something out and then just like knock, attack. Like Palkia has a lot of HP, and you have a lot of these tricks like Path to the Peak, or even you could use Temple of Sinnoh that could slow them down enough. And they might have to just play another stadium on top of that, so that makes your Roxanne path hit a little bit harder. So I'm sitting at 5-0, and I mean, of course, I'm at the biggest tournament of the year, so I'm feeling amazing. I find myself playing against Natalie Millar from Australia, and she's absolutely amazing player. And we're playing Palkia Mirror. I offered an ID so that we could go 5-0-1. I'd rather hit other Mew decks at the top and maybe bring it to like an 8-0-1 finish. She said, nah, that's cool. I was like, all right, cool. So I brought it down to a game where I was about to win, and then I go Roxanne at the very end, and she was able to get out of it. So cool. We lose those sometimes. Roxanne can sometimes be a lie. Game 2 was the same thing. I was about to win. I get Roxanne's, and I draw nothing off Roxanne when I could have just won the game off the Roxanne possibly. So whatever. We got absolutely destroyed by the Roxanne. Next round up was me playing, so I was 5-0-1, and now, or sorry, now I'm 5-5-1. So I found myself playing against a Mew VMAX deck, again, a player from South Korea, and they just dead drew so poorly. It was literally like a game where I was like attacking, knock out their Mew turn 2. They're like Tower of Darkness in play, pass, like literally nothing, back-to-back bricks. So I felt really bad for them, but that put me at 6-1. One of the top tables in the yellow pod, because they split the pods because there was just so many players in the tournament. And I was like sick. I played against Kaiwin Kubabe, one of my friends again from Australia, and he offered an ID because that locks us both for top cuts. 6-1-2 gets us, so we'd be 6-1-1 guaranteed no matter what happened to the next one. So we ID'd there. I go into the last game. I play against Tanner I can't ever pronounce it. Tanner Kaplinger. I'm really bad with names, I'm sorry. Anyways, they were playing Mew VMAX, so I was like, yo, let's go. We hit another Mew VMAX. Swift 2-0 to move on to 7-1-1. So, I mean, 7-1-1 going into day 2, I was definitely within the top. I think I was like 15th or something in standings overall, which is like absolutely bonkers out of the entire event, which is crazy. We take those, and so was my teammate Cal Connor. We were both 7-1. He's playing Arcantel, so we were both pretty hyped up going into day 2. Day 2, I ended up hitting round 1. I ended up hitting like a Fluffy Box deck, which was crazy. I was like, cool, this is where like things start to go downhill. But I was actually miraculously able to take down that matchup, and that was like, we take those. It was one of those things where like we absolutely take those, and that was cool. I don't know what it was. My opponent looked like they set up everything. They could have had everything. They just didn't want to pull the trigger on Raichu. I really couldn't put it down to it. So I put myself into a checkmate position game 1. Game 2, they really drew poorly, and we take those. Next round, I found myself playing against Isaiah Bradner, the player that ended up coming second at the event. So they were playing Palkia Mirror, and I mean, game one, I absolutely destroyed them, and I felt really confident going to the match. I was like, I learned a lot from playing against Natalie Millar. Anytime that I lose a game, especially against a mirror match, I try to take notes of what my opponent did, and I'm always trying to find ways to grow. Game two, I dead drew. Game three, I dead drew. Really sucks, but whatever. Isaiah's a great player, and we were allowed to lose to Mirror. The next round, I found myself playing against a Reg Alecki deck, and I mean, I played Reg Alecki the last weekend in Milwaukee. Didn't do well for me, but I learned how to play the Palkia matchup, and I learned what made Palkia good against Reggies, so I knew that I had to go with, like, offering up a single prize card Pokemon, maybe attacking with Aqua Bullet, and then really going for a Temple of Sinnoh Rock Sand play later on in the game. That ended up working out really well, except game one, they got out of it. Game two, they just dead drew. Game three, I Rock Sand, templed them into nothing. So I was 2-1 on the day, feeling good. I'm still at the top tables. Then I find myself playing against Justin Bokari. Very similarly to what happened to Isaiah, I ended up going, winning game one convincingly. Dead drew game two, dead drew game three. I'm like, are you absolutely serious right now? So that takes me out of, like, top 8 contention-ish. I mean, if I won out, there's a chance that I could have got in with 34, but the bubble ended up being 35, actually. So I wouldn't have made it. I would have made top 16. I was like, whatever, we'll just continuously play it out. I find myself playing against Brian DeVries, and they're playing Palkia. It literally got to a game where, like, game one, I draw poorly. Game two, I draw poorly. I'm like, cool. I felt really kicked down because it was just not working out. So I'm like, I lost a Palkia 3 times today. I beat a Regieleki. I beat a Flaffy deck. And then last round, I find myself paired against another Zach L. Coincidentally, I offer them an ID so I can get into some cash because there's $500 if you make top 64. My math showed that we make top 64 at that threshold. We went ahead and ID'd. I could have played it out. They were playing Arcanteleon, and it's favored, but I was really worried about just double dead drawing, and it's basically the way that I looked at it. I was like, I could ID and get $500, a box, the extra points, all that stuff, or if I lose, I get literally just points and nothing else. So it was a $600 thing there, and if I went to top 32, I'd get another box, an extra $250. So it was like the risk of reward versus 350 versus not 350. Like, it was 0 to 350, and I was like, I'll do the deal or no deal. We'll take the deal. So that was my run. And I mean, I think it's one of those things where what I learned is my list was not built for Palkia Mirror, whereas other Palkia lists were. Other Palkia lists played more Battle VIP Pass. So when I was going second against any other deck, I could just go Irida and search out a Battle VIP Pass. If they go second against me, they go Battle VIP Pass and they're set up. More Battle VIP Pass means that they're having these more robust turns. I was not having those robust turns, and I proceed to dead draw a whole bunch. This deck does not need a lot to get set up, so it's one of those things where I do want to add in Battle VIP Pass. Things like Starmie were just more of me thinking of the metagame a little bit differently than it was. And things like Leon weren't necessarily as good. Maybe Melanie is not as reliant. I mean, honestly, anything closer to Isaiah Bradner's list, the list that ultimately came second, would be really good. Everything else about this core, and Irida is the best card in the deck for, because you're able to just kind of juggle getting at whatever you want every single turn, and consistently just like layering Irida, searches out, Irida, searches out, making this deck, well, it's very complex to play, a little bit easier to play. I know that it's kind of like a little bit of a rant, but it's one of those things where I hope that everyone like kind of sees how my day went. I mean, I had a successful day going 7-1. One of my highest finishes at an IC day 1. So we definitely take those. Going into day 2, I had a weak run. That could happen, especially in a Palkia field when my deck wasn't prepared for Palkia as much as I thought it could have been. And I got a little bit unlucky at the end of the day, and that's where it's at. I think I could have changed my list up. I think I could have tested a little bit more. I think I could have explored the format a little bit more. And that's not to say my testing was not conclusive or anything else like that. It's just, remember to keep strong company around yourselves. If you're playing with players who are not necessarily understanding of where you're at, you can sometimes fall into traps where their ideas can not necessarily get you to where you want to go, or you don't explore matchups as deep as you should, or maybe you think a matchup is better than you think it is. So I mean, it just got me, I'm going to continuously search to playtest with the best. I'm going to continuously improve myself as a player, and I think that there's just other benefits. It's going to improve this channel as I kind of have this passion for in real life kind of competitive play. But ultimately, you want to know what, I can't complain. I secured the bag. I got my day 2 invite to World Championships. There's a lot of other content creators who were not as fortunate to even get a day 1 invite, and here I am with a day 2 paid trip to Worlds. So I mean, I can't be anything else but thankful for all the opportunities that I have. And I mean, this is the list where it's at. It's not a bad list by any means. I just want to up the Battle VIP pass and crank that up a bit. So yeah, that's what we got going on for the day. And that's basically it. Right now it's Astral Radiance, but we are going to be going through our Pokemon Go set on Friday. So if you're trying to pick up some Pokemon Go cards, go to atlastcg.com, and you could go use code ZLASAGE8 to save 8% off anything site-wide, including Magic, including Yu-Gi-Oh!, including Pokemon. These are my sponsors, everyone. It's one of those things where I do want to give them credit where credit's due. They do allow me to play the game at the level that I do. Acquiring me cards, they do get me to these tournaments sometimes, and it's one of those things where I do really want to help them grow as much as possible. You can also go to ptcgeostore.com, pick up some Pogo cards, some Pogo codes, and plug in code ZLASAGE5 to save 5% on your next order of codes. You can go to TC Evolutions. TC Evolutions is a new one for the channel. But I mean, long time supporter of me, and I really appreciate everything that they've done for me. Go to their website, go to plug in code ZAC10. It's really one of those things where a lot of people don't realize how strong those ability markers can be, or your V-Star markers. These are things that avoid you penalties at events. Ability markers, people who are using double abilities, can sometimes get in trouble. If you are avoiding 1 less penalty per event, that is well worth the price range of what they are. So check those out. I will have links available in the description. And yeah, I mean, check out my description for everything else if you want to support me any other way. Pick up some coaching heading into Worlds. These are all things that do keep the channel afloat. And of course, watching, giving this video a like, subscribing, and more. I will be having Pokemon Go content starting on Friday or Saturday, depending on when I'm able to get my hands on some codes. So I will be covering all the best, newest decks. In between then, I will be covering some of the top decks from NAIC to fill in any gaps of competitive play here. So stay tuned for all that. I do have some great plans for this channel going forward. Now that I'm home for the next 6 weeks before I'm in London for Worlds, just expect me to be grinding out content, grinding out coaching, grinding out articles, grinding out everything Pokemon relatable and stuff like that. I feel absolutely refreshed. All of my brand new Pokemon gear from NAIC, and I'm excited to create some more content. I'll catch up with all y'all later. Peace out and have a great one. Check out ptcgeostore.com, the best place to get Pokemon TCG online codes. There's a lot of selection available, and I have a discount code available for the website as well. You can pick up any kind of cards, just going up here. You can add them to your cart in any quantity that you need to get the cards that you need. And you can go to the discount code right over here, and you can put in code ZLASAGE5 to save 5% on your next order of codes. If you're looking for a great deal on some physical Pokemon TCG cards, you can head over to atlascollectibles.com or atlastcg.com, type in whatever cards you're looking for. So Arceus V-Star is absolutely hot right now. Let's search up Arceus V-Star. You can see they have a great selection of cards, and it's continuously getting new stock all the time. And we can add these to our cart. You can see I already added one to my cart. So when you're going to check out, you can use code ZLASAGE8, use that code, and you can save off your order. That was $4.80 of savings just off of an Arceus V-Star. It's all in Canadian pricing, and they do shipping across the world. So by all means, check out atlastcg.com, atlascollectibles.com, and use code ZLASAGE8 to save on your next order of physical Pokemon TCG cards. Are you trying to get better at Pokemon TCG? Well, if you are, you're in the right place. I offer coaching at medify.gg/@ZachLasage. That link is in the description, and you pick up a coaching session from me and book it on the website. I likely have availability this week, and you can see exactly what my availability calendar is at any given time. I offer training plans to help players get ready for any of their upcoming events, including getting all the way to the World Championships, or you can pick up a one-on-one coaching session from me and learn the game at your own pace. I offer a variety of opportunities for players to get better at the game, and it's one of those things where there's a lot of players who I've turned into regional, international, and even a world champion along the way. If there's anything it shows, I have an FAQ on the website, so by all means, check it out and get better today. I'd love to help you on your Pokemon journey and be absolutely amazing to see your growth. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It means the world to me. And my goal with this channel is to spread my love of the game and knowledge with our entire Pokemon TCG community. If you haven't already, help signal boost this video to other Pokemon TCG fans by liking it, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. Hopefully we reach our goals really soon. Check out this recommended video, and have yourself a great day. Thanks.